Hello and welcome back to this video. In this video, we'll be discussing about the introduction to functions. So we'll be discussing what are functions, when to use them, where to use them, and what are the advantages and disadvantages of functions. Function is basically a set of rules or activities that you're supposed to be doing that are compiled under one single name. For example, if we are going to be calculating the sum of two variables, so what we will do is we will create a function, and this is the syntax for function creation. Def, that is the function definition, and sum of a and b. So this is the definition of the function, and inside the function we are going to be giving all the code that is required to compute the sum of these two variables. Now I will declare a variable called c is equal to a plus b, and function generally consists of three different parts. The first is the name of the function, that is the sum and def, and the next would be all the code that is supposed to be carried out when the function is called, and after that we have a return statement. A return statement is nothing but once a function takes an input, processes that input, it will give one kind of an output. So return can be thought of as an output that is coming out of a function. So once I save this, now this is the basic function for determining the sum of two variables. Now how to call this function? Now inside, let's say after I declare my function here, I will call my function using the function name, that is sum of, and inside I have a any and b any. Any is actually the data type, right? So I can give any kind of data type here because I have not mentioned anything here, and a and b are the variables for which the values I'm supposed to be giving right now. So I will give 3 and 4. Now sum of 3 and 4, now my answer should be 7. My answer will be the output of this particular statement, that is sum of 3 comma 4. My answer will be saved in this variable. Answer is equal to sum of 3 comma 4, and I will print the answer. Now what we have done, we'll have a recap. Now I have declared a function named sum that takes two values a and b, computes the sum and returns the value. So a function basically has three different parts: the definition, the processing, and the output. And the output is now stored in a variable called answer, and once the function is called, the calling statement will require the arguments that are given in the function definition. Inside the sum brackets, I will be giving the arguments that are required for this function to process. Now my arguments are 3 comma 4, and I am printing the answer. Now the expected output is 3 plus 4, that is 7. I will run the output, and I am getting 7 as the output. Now, what is the use of this particular function? Why can't I simply put print of a plus b, which is much more simpler and much more faster to type and to execute? Now, why am I using functions? The answer for this question is, when I'm using, let's say, a normal sequence of statements that I want to execute, what if I want to execute that again and again and again, but let's say with different inputs? For example, if I have this statement, print of a plus b. So what if I want to have different values every time I'm using this print? I can't simply keep writing print of a plus b again and again and again, a plus b. Now this would be a waste of time. Now what if I want to, let's say, print this 100 times or 50 times or any number of times in which each of the times my input is different, right? So that is where function comes in. Inside definition of sum, a and b, I can give any value here. Now now I've given the sum as 3 comma 4, and what if I give 5, like let's say 5 comma 4. So now my answer is 9, right? So we'll check that. The answer is 9. Now that is the use of the function. The most important feature of this function is called reusability. Reusability. We can reuse this set of statements again and again and again, how much ever times that we want, because we have compartmentalized the set of the set of activities that we are performing under one single name called function. So now this is the basics of what a function is. And functional programming is something that is associated with the use of functions to define the program logic that you're going to do. For example, if I have sum, right, so all my logic related to the sum will be there inside this function called sum. And let's say I'm making a program for a calculator, right? So I have sum, I have difference, I have multiplication, division, and exponents and everything. And what if I want to create it in a more clean and reusable way, right? So that is where my functions come in. So all my addition functions, addition logic would be defined under the function sum, and all my subtraction logic will be defined under the function difference, and so on. So this is one of the main uses of the function, and this way of programming is called functional programming. Functional programming is a very efficient way of programming, and it takes up very less of your time, and it is also very reusable, and it is also very modular. That is, your program has logic segregated by name, right? So if you want to access your for example, there is a mistake in your subtraction code, right? So you can actually go into the difference definition and you can change that. So that would be the main advantage of function. And disadvantage is if suppose your function is very small. For example, what we're doing right now, like what if I want to use the sum only once, right? So my print a plus b is much more faster. So that is a disadvantage of function. If you're not going to use it let's say more than 2 or 3 times, then it's basically just a lot of code to write when compared to writing it directly, writing it hard codedly. So this is efficient when you're using it again and again, but if you're not, you're going to be using it only once, then the direct way of writing is probably much efficient. So that is one disadvantage of functions. But hope you understood this uses of function, and in the next video we'll be discussing very detailed into how to define big functions and how to use them, right? So hope you understood this, and see you in the next video.